we have discussed that what's the meaning of science. Now we know that there are natural sciences and there are social sciences. Sciences are of two kinds, and natural sciences study the natural environment, the physical environment. That's why they are called physical sciences or natural sciences, physics, chemistry, bio. And there are social sciences which claim to study social environment or human environment. That is called they are called human sciences or social sciences. So now we know that social sciences are not usually considered as hard sciences or rigorous sciences. On the other hand, natural sciences are usually considered as hard sciences, perfect sciences, or rigorous sciences. So why this difference? And we discussed in the class that scientific method, although is applied in sociology, psychology, history, but it cannot be applied that rigorously. There are certain limitations when it is to study human beings. It is easier to study a plant or even an electron or a star than study a human mind. So, what are the limitations? What are the problems in when we apply scientific method on a human situation? So we discussed that first of all, human beings are not that predictable. So first point is human beings are not exactly predictable. They are complex. Human mind is the most complex thing which has been discovered by human mind. So this is the major thing, and we can change our behavior. We can say something and mean something else, and there are perhaps many variables which determine our behavior. It's not just temperature, pressure. They are internal variables, our moods, our tendency systems. Just a slightest idea of a remote time can simply change my outlook. Now I can be with you, and I can simply shift within a second to something else. So it our horizons, our inner life, and even our outer life, the way we interact with people, the way we interact with ourselves, our subjectivity, the complexity of our subjectivities. There is a video going on in our mind every time. Sometimes we feel that we are quarreling with someone, and it just keeps on going. It's and we sometimes develop those feelings even of friendliness or something unfriendly towards some person just on the basis of a fantasy. So we have, a fantasy world and our own idiosyncrasies. So this is the first thing. Secondly, researcher, the scientist himself is a human being, and he has been raised in a particular culture. So social sciences are usually concerned with topics which are controversial, debated always in society. So it is sometimes difficult to be really impartial and objective in our analysis. It is easier to be objective when you are studying the relationship between antineutrinos and electrons, for example, because it's less likely that you will take the side of electrons and you will become against some other particle. It is much easier to be objective, but it is difficult to be objective. For example, when you are studying the relationship between Hindus and Muslims, and you are happen to a Muslim, for example, or a Hindu. So because we have been raised in a particular culture, including scientists. They were once children, and they have been raised in a particular culture, and they have their tendencies, and they have sometimes their experiences, and so those effects, and we sometimes hide those effects. Ultimately, all scientists are human beings, and they can, make their presentations look very objective and impartial, and very graphical and pie chart and flow chart, and but beneath that construction of data, and beneath the statistics and SPSS and all those things, there can be, uh, some biases which are hidden. So I'm not saying that it is impossible. There have been many studies are impartial and objective, but it is difficult. So because in human sciences we are studying ourselves, so we are complex first of all, and then we have preconceived notions more than the natural sciences. But I think that on this point, natural scientists also face some limitation uh, in another way. So thirdly, we know that the people who are understudied, because we are studying people, so people who are understudied, they also uh, can change their behavior, and sometimes when they know that they are understudied, they definitely change their behavior. So Hawthorne effect, please note it, Hawthorne effect, and just read about it, Hawthorne effect, that how respondents changed their behavior when they came to know that they're understudy. It was not the real variable which was affecting their behavior, it was just the consciousness that they are understudy, and it gives them a sense of importance and they change their behavior. Just read about it in your book or through uh, resources, online resources. Just read Hawthorne effect and we can discuss it later. And finally, there are other factors as well, that it's difficult to control the intervening variables. In every experiment there is a independent variable and there is a dependent variable. For example, if you are trying to establish a relationship between temperature and pressure, you raise the temperature and pressure is increased, for example, but volume would also increase. So you will have to keep constant the volume in order to establish the relationship between temperature and pressure. So it is easier to control volume, and we can create an environment, and that environment in which you can control the intervening variables, the variables which intervene into it. You create an environment, and that environment is called lab. A laboratory is basically a controlled environment. So it is easier to create a controlled environment or a lab in natural sciences. It is much difficult to create a lab for social sciences, because the whole society is basically sometimes under study, or a bigger part is in the study. So it's difficult to control the intervening variables in experimenting about larger sections of population. So there are other limitations as well. So the main point is that it is difficult to apply scientific method, and that's why in social sciences there are different perspectives, that even we shouldn't apply scientific method as it is applied in natural sciences, and this approach, that scientific method should be applied to study human environment, this is called positivism. So this positivistic approach has been criticized and challenged by other social scientists who say that human beings are different from just a rock or a star or a plant. They have subjectivity and they have values. So therefore, they should not be studied in a way we study things in physics or chemistry. Human beings are not bags of chemicals. They have values. There are things which are good and bad, and therefore, and that's why we have uh, ethics of research ethics. The presence of research ethics is an indication that we should there are we are studying with we are dealing with a sensitive subject. So so there are approaches which say that human beings should be studied uh, some in some other way. So we'll discuss it later on. Thank you very much.